Do you have to go through probate if you have a will in North Carolina? Hello, everyone. This is Courtney Rollins, the certified probate expert for North Carolina. I hope you are doing well. I am also the Life and Transitions Experts podcast host. Here we talk about things that impact people going through some of the biggest trends in their life, that's dealing with the estate of a loved one who has passed away, or even dealing with helping transition the loved ones who have survived into a new place. Quite often, the challenge of dealing with the house and the stuff are some big obstacles that we try to help provide caring solutions at Estate Pro Service. Again, one question I do get asked quite often is, hey, Courtney, my family has a will. I have a will in place. I don't have to worry about probate, right? Well, actually, you're actually wrong. You have to go through, for most situations, if there is a will in place and a person passes away with assets in their name or even debt in their name, they have assets in their name and they have a will in place, the will has to be properly probated. It has to go through probate to actually legally be executed. That is the actual process. Unless you have other legal instruments, such as a trust or other tools or instruments in place, there's joint survivorship and other things, almost every asset will have to go through the probate process that's in the decedent's name. I am not an attorney or a financial advisor, and I highly encourage that you do have a conversation with an attorney and a financial advisor to help you and your family come up with great solutions that are going to help you hopefully avoid probate. Because as you may have already found out or discovered, or will just possibly discover, probate can be a very lengthy and expensive process. So to go through probate is not something that you necessarily want to do, but if you, and some people again assume that having a will circumvent that. However, it does not. There are other legal tools, instruments that can cover that, but and if you do need support finding a vetted estate professional, contact us at estateproservice.com, and I will definitely connect you with some of the folks that are in my network. Again, let's go through probate to be legally executed. That's how it's legally determined that the last wishes of the decedents is followed. Now, the will must be also legally recognized in the state of North Carolina. So we're talking about wills in North Carolina. So for a will in North Carolina to be executed, in general, it must be self-proving. And for it to be self-proving, there needs to be two interested witnesses that sign it in front of a notarized notary. And the person making the will must be over 18 and of sound mind. So it must be notarized by a notary, of course. Now, that does not mean that the will has to be self-proving to be valid. When the will is not self-proving, it doesn't fit those criteria, then a court must determine whether the signature of the witnesses and the signature of the person making the will are legitimate. But having a self-proving will circumvents this process, saves time and money. Shout out to King Law Office for providing that. Now, in general, the will appoint an executor or executrix if you're using old language or perhaps outdated language, but executor is the person who is instructed to legally have the right and the fiduciary responsibility to follow the plans of the will, as well as other aspects of the probate process. The will often, in general, will determine if there is a bond is secured. Usually it will waive the bond so that someone doesn't have to put money down in case there's some foul play or something happens and they're not their fiduciary responsibility has been jeopardized. So quite often the will say they do not, so they can go ahead and administer or execute the last will and testament. It also dictates how any real or personal property is to be handled. It also dictates how any inheritance is to be distributed, and if there isn't specific language for those, then all this always falls back on North Carolina statutes. Now, if you do a situation where you may have found a loved one just recently passed away, sorry to hear that. I know it's challenging times. And if you find that you're at the point where you're ready to start the probate process, you have the will, make sure you locate the valid will. Make sure you go ahead and call the probate office. Most of them are pretty packed in different counties. So you want to call ahead and set an appointment to probate. Don't be surprised if it's not 2 months, 3 months, or 6 out. There really isn't a legal time frame for you to have to file for probate, but it may be something that, depending on your situation, you want to get done sooner than later. But once you file for probate in the clerk's office, you will have the appointment. You'll go down there. You'll probate the will, and they'll notarize it and give you your letters of testament. And there's, at this time, $120 filing fee that you'll pay at that time at the probate or the estate office. Now, if this is challenging or overwhelming, or even if you just for assistance, I've had plenty of folks or clients I've been privileged enough to work with who sometimes just want extra eye or extra hand, or perhaps there's services that fall outside the criteria of where their attorney is going to extend or go, or perhaps they don't have an attorney, so they're looking for services and support. And this is where Estate Pro Service comes in. We really try to be a all-in-one, put you in the right space. We stay in our lane, but we do make sure we connect you with a great team of either state attorneys. Perhaps you need, again, a financial advisor. Perhaps you need a clean out crew to deal with some of the personal items, or an estate sale plan or strategy. Or again, perhaps the loved one who has survived needs to move into a different community and needs support. If there's a house, of course, we're cash buyers and can provide cash options for the home, or help you come up with ways to be able to keep the home if that's what you decide to do. There's so many things. It really depends on each person's situation. And that's why we really try to take a heart, head, and hands-on approach, where we use our heart and recognize that you are a person who's going through something, and we must be able to listen and not try to dictate our plans onto you and your family, and try to use our heads after that to really come up with a strategy that's going to support and work for you all, and get started and work with our hands. And so definitely feel free to reach out to estateproservice.com. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and hit all those good buttons. And other than that, I always end with saying rising tides, because rising tides, it lifts all sails.